What's up guys, Giants Guy here, and today in this video, this will be my part 2 of my attack helicopter analysis. My part 1 already talked about the unlocks and the facts and details of the attack helicopter unlocks. So in this part, I will be giving you guys my opinion. For example, like the things I like and the things I don't like about the attack helicopters, and what unlocks I will recommend you guys to run. Now to get started, if you already haven't watched the first part, I would recommend you to do so because there's quite a lot of information in that video that I covered. Plus this video will be covering some of the things which I talked about in that video, so I will have a link in the description down below for those of you which have not seen it yet. So to give you guys my overall thoughts of the attack helicopter, I want to sum it up in one word. I would say the word is average. It behaves and it feels very similar to Battlefield 3's attack helicopters. It is not too overpowered and it's not underpowered. Since you do have limited amounts of heat seekers, it isn't just locking onto the enemy like how it was in Battlefield 3. It adds more skill and it makes it more of a challenge to take down air vehicles. With the limited amount of rocket pods, you can't just spam them like how in Battlefield 3, and you really have to pick your shot and you can't be as aggressive. They are very effective at taking out armored vehicles such as tanks and LAVs, but they aren't very effective against AAs because the AAs are very overpowered and you'll be a sitting duck if you're just hovering above the AA to try to take it out with your rocket pods. The gunner and the pilot feels like they have a better teamwork or communication in Battlefield 4 than in Battlefield 3, but that's just me. I would say the key to success is, of course, have good communication with your pilot and gunner, and don't play as aggressive as you would in Battlefield 3. Try to sneak around or flank, or if you don't like that, stay back and engage the enemy from a distance. That's what I would do sometimes. So moving on from my overall thoughts of the attack helicopters, let's talk about the loadout which I run and I would recommend you guys to run. So let's first take a look at the pilot section. Now I use the Zuni rockets for the primary weapon section because they are extremely powerful for taking out armored vehicles, and if you land most of your shots you should be able to destroy a tank very easily, and in my opinion it's probably the best choice for me, at least for the attack helicopters, but I don't know about you guys could have different opinions. Then in the secondary weapon section, I choose the tow missile because I can practically fire the two missiles right after each other, and they're just great for taking out ground targets, but the drawback is the slower speed. It can also lock onto laser designated targets, and that can come in handy. So when I see a tank on the ground and I want to destroy it, I usually unload a rocket pod of Zuni rockets, and then I would probably finish it with the tow missile. So I use the ECM jammer for the countermeasure section because it's useful for you to get out of a situation quickly to heal up and to wait for the ECM jammer to regen so you can come back. So it basically is a escaping tool. Lastly, I use the gyro stabilizer in the upgrade section because I usually get hit with heat seekers or IGLAs or stingers quite often, so I kinda do need to retain control to escape with my ECM jammer. That's my loadout for my pilot. Let's move on to the loadout for my gunner. So I use the TV guided missiles because they're very useful when taking out targets from very far away. It's kind of a sniping tool, and I use the gunner zoom because it's easier for me to hit ground targets from further, and it just helps me make more accurate shots overall. In the upgrade section, I would use the gunner belt feeder because the reloads are much faster from 3.6 seconds to 0.8 seconds, so I can get those deadly 30mm rounds downrange very quickly. So lastly, I want to give you guys more of my opinion on the other unlocks, so let's just go down the list. First, we have the Hydra rockets, and I do feel like it doesn't do enough damage as it should, but I do like to stick with the Zuni rockets and I kinda got used to it. It is definitely an effective tool when you start out with the attack helicopters. Then we have the heat seekers, and they can be sometimes useful for other attack helicopters, but I just rather want to go with the anti-armor route, so I kinda stick with the tow missile. Then I have the IR flares, and sometimes I do use them, but I always get locked back on before I can escape, which is quite annoying, so I like to stick with my ECM jammer. Then we have stealth coating, and I kind of feel like this upgrade is useless for any vehicle, so it does help a little bit, but I don't really know how much it helps, so I like to stick with other upgrades. Then we have the gunner proximity scan, and they are good for knowing where the other vehicles are, but I do like reloading faster, so that's why I stick with the belt feeder. Then we have the fire extinguisher, and usually my attack helicopter does not go below 37% health, and the gyro stabilizer just helps me to fly much better, and I just don't like getting hit with the heat seekers a lot, so I just don't like to use the fire extinguisher. Then we have air radar, and this is only really useful for other attack helicopters which are a threat to you, but the rest of the air vehicles are usually just there and they don't usually attack me, so I kind of feel like sometimes the air radar could be useless. Then we have gunner thermal and the IRMV. Now I feel like these optics are very bright, and I just can't focus on my targets, and you can't see as far away as you can with the zoom optics, and I just like using zoom optics because I can really snipe people from a distance. Lastly, we have smart rockets, and I feel like they're a bit weaker than the Hydra rockets, but they are slightly guided, so it can be sometimes useful. I just like sticking with my Zuni rockets as usual. Well, that brings us to the end of the video. That was my loadout and some of my opinions on the attack helicopters and locks, so I hope you guys enjoy watching this video. Thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like and a comment down below. I would greatly appreciate it. I will continue to try verbatim source for Battlefield 4 videos. Peace out, guys.